Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to jump into a new foundation that I have been testing for the last couple of days. This is new from Shiseido. This is the Synchro Skin Radiant Lifting Foundation. So this is pretty much the same type of formula as the original Synchro Skin foundation, but this one is more radiant than the original. So I could not wait to pick this up because a lot of people love the Synchro Skin. Like, it's a highly rated, well-loved foundation. But for me, it was always just a little bit too thick for my aging skin. And right now I'm a little bit more dry, so I could definitely not wear that foundation. So when I heard that they were launching a radiant form of it, I had to pick it up. So this foundation retails for $47. I did pick up 2 shades, and I will do some shade swatches of this foundation next to some of the other foundations that I have in my collection. And also, I bought the shade Maple in this foundation, which is what I wore in the original, just so that you guys can see how those shades compare. So this has SPF of 30, and it is a luminous foundation that hydrates for up to 24 hours and adapts to your skin for a medium to full coverage with a radiant finish. It is for normal, dry, and combination skin, and it has a light adjusting technology that visibly lifts, refines, and smooths for a luminous looking finish. This is available on the Sephora website now. When I picked it up, it was only available on the Shiseido website, but it is now currently available on the Sephora website, and it looks like people are loving this. So right now it has roughly about 350 reviews, and it has a 4.6 out of 5-star rating. Now, so right here on the screen is an image of what I look for and what I like in foundations. I always think it's very important for the person behind the camera to kind of share what they like and what they dislike in foundations, just so that you know, as I'm reviewing it, what I'm looking for and what I like in a foundation. And also for reference, in the description box down below, I will go ahead and share several popular foundations on the market and what shades I wear in those foundations, just so that you can kind of get an idea of what shade I am and, you know, how it will compare to you. Now, like I said, I bought 2 shades. I bought 350 Maple and 360 Citrine. Now, when I did the application, that was the first day that I actually got this foundation, and I combined them together. I felt like Citrine might be a little bit too dark, and I felt like Maple was a little bit too light, so I mixed them together. However, since the application, I have decided to just wear the shade 360 Citrine. I think this is the best shade for me, especially since I use fake tan to kind of, you know, help my skin get some color during the winter. So the Citrine has definitely matched me, and that has been the shade that I have been wearing since the first day that I tried it. But just to let you guys know, I did mix it in the application, but this one is definitely the right shade for me. So I have been wearing this for the last several days. When I got this, I was actually using this one, which I will upload my review of this one next. This is the Urban Decay Hydromaniac. So I was using this. I know exactly how I feel about it, but I will kind of wait. I decided to go ahead and just get this review up, and the next one will be the one from Urban Decay. So I would say I've probably worn this about 5 days. I've worn it between 8 to 12 hours, sometimes 13 to 14 hours. Sometimes my days are really, really long. So I've really put it to the test. I know exactly how I feel about it. I've tried it with different primers. I've tried it with no powder, with setting powder. Tried to kind of change things up so that I could really get a feel for this foundation and how it wears and lasts throughout the day. So let's go ahead and jump into the application portion of the video, and then we will go ahead and do a 6-hour check-in, which will be in the daylight. I will take you outside. It's extra cold today. It's been snowing all day, but I will take you out on my porch so you guys can see what this looks like in natural daylight. And then I will come back later on this evening and give you guys my full thoughts on it in my 12-hour check-in. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the application. Okay, so let's jump into trying on this new Synchro Skin Radiant Lifting Foundation. So I bought 2 shades in this new foundation. I bought the shade 350 Maple and 360 Citrine. Okay, so here are the 2 shades. This is 360 Citrine and this is 350 Maple. And I feel like this might blend in my skin better. but it might be too dark. I don't know. Like when I blend it out, it looks like it blends in pretty good. Like when I blend this out, I don't know. I almost feel like them together might be the best match. So I'm going to go ahead and just blend these two together on this side. Kind of blend that in with a brush. So I'm going to go ahead and apply on this side with a brush. And then, as you guys know, I like to take a sponge and go over top of it to kind of push it into the skin. Except for I've got it all over in my brows now. So I went ahead and finished it up, and it's kind of hard to tell the difference between the brush and the sponge side because I did go over this with a sponge to kind of push it into the skin on this side. But for me personally, I feel like I needed a sponge to push it over. There are some foundations that I can apply with a brush and I don't necessarily need a sponge. But with this foundation, I needed a sponge to kind of push it into the skin. And that was kind of my same experience with the original Synchro Skin. So not really much difference there. But this does have a little bit more radiance than the original. The original was a little bit more of like a satin matte finish. This one is, it does have a satin matte finish, but it has a radiance to it. It's exactly what it says it is. It's almost like I applied the original formula, but this is just a little bit more radiant. Looking pretty good though. I think it covered all of my imperfections. I feel like it gave me a nice medium coverage, and I think it blended into the skin very beautifully. So that's it. That's it for the application portion of this video. Next up will be my 6-hour check-in out in this daylight so you guys can see what this looks like in natural lighting. And then I'll come back and do a 12-hour check-in, and at that time, that will be after wearing it for a couple of days, kind of getting used to it, wearing it with different primers, and I will give you my full thoughts on it along with a 12-hour check-in. So I will see you guys then. Okay, everyone, it is time to do my 6-hour check-in. I'm outside. It's currently 4:30 in the afternoon. I applied this right around 10 o'clock this morning, so it's been on for about 6 hours now. Maybe between 5 and 6. I don't know exactly what time I applied it. It's snowing outside, as you can see through the reflection of the window. So I'm gonna get through this quickly because it's cold. Everything's looking really good. The only thing that I've not really enjoyed about this foundation since I've been using it is if you use too much of it, it can get thick. So let's zoom in. This is what it's looking like right along the textured area. You can see some of my texture here. And like right here around my nose, it's wearing pretty good, you know, for the amount of time that I've had it on. You can kind of see how it looks over the forehead. You can see it looks pretty decent in the wrinkles. Color of it, I would say, matches my skin really good. The only problem that I have is that sometimes it can get a little bit heavy in the wrinkle area, which I will get into more of that in my final thoughts. But I just wanted to show you guys what it looks like here in more of a natural daylight setting. It's really bright outside because it's snowing. So I just flipped you guys around to show you. It's really cloudy outside, no sun. We do have some snow. I got to come out here and shovel, but it's definitely really pretty, but it's cold. We're supposed to get snow all throughout the night, so we'll see. But anyway, so that's it for the 6-hour check-in. I will see you guys all in my 12-hour check-in, which will be my final thoughts. Okay, everyone, I am back to give my final thoughts on this foundation, but before I do, let's go ahead and do the 12-hour check-in. So it is currently 10:10 at night. So I've officially had this on for roughly about 12 hours. Let's kind of start here. I mean, you can kind of see where I have like the wrinkling going on just from like rubbing my nose. But I do have a dry spot right here in my nose. And so it's been really itchy today. So that could be why like I have all those marks. Because see, when I do this, it kind of creates those wrinkles. When a foundation starts to break down or starts to show wear and tear on my face, it's normally in this area. So this is kind of normal, not with all of my foundations, but definitely with foundations that are similar to this type of texture. But as you can see, I really haven't lost any coverage on my texture. It still looks pretty good. You can kind of see it starting to patch up where it's kind of sitting on the skin. You can see that little patch right here. It looks pretty good around the forehead though. Like I'm not, let me turn down the ring light. Maybe the ring light. Okay. So you can kind of see where it's starting to get a little bit patchy, like right around here. On this side, it looks pretty good. I'm not really seeing any patchy marks on this side. And it looks pretty good on these wrinkles. I think I'm starting to lose a little bit of coverage here. But for being on for 12 hours, this looks pretty good. I will note that a lot of the times when a foundation starts to kind of break away, it will be like right here, I'll start getting a little bit of patchiness going on. This one, I'm starting to have a lot of shine come through where you can kind of see where I touched my skin right there. I'm starting to get some little shine spots. You can see where I'm touching it, but I'm okay with this as long as it doesn't break away, and it's not really breaking away. So the spots where I'm touching my skin that's making those, that's kind of removing the oils, it's not transferring that much. So I'm okay with that. I think this actually looks pretty good for being on for 12 hours. There are some things that I don't like about this foundation, which I will get into, but overall, I think this is a really pretty foundation, and for being on for 12 hours, I think this looks pretty good. I will note though, while I'm doing a 12-hour check-in, I just reviewed this palette. This is the new Juicy Amazonian palette, and this palette claims to be long wearing, and it has been. I mean, you can see, I think my eye makeup looks really good for being 12 hours later. And so, I mean, the shimmer looks really beautiful. The only thing I have is just some like black eyeliner that's kind of gunked up into my inner corner. But, you know, right along here, I think the eyeshadow looks really good. But anyways, for those of you guys that missed my review on this, I will link that up here in the iCards. But it looks pretty good, doesn't it? So now that we've made it through the 12-hour check-in, let me go ahead and get into my final thoughts. So as I mentioned in the intro, I have worn this foundation with several different primers. I've also used it with and without setting powder. I've really tried to kind of play around with it, which is what I like to do when I'm reviewing new foundations. I just can't come on camera after using a foundation for one day and say if I like it or not. Especially nowadays where you can't go to Sephora and stuff and get samples anymore. It's really good to have really good thorough reviews. So I do like to wear my foundations for several days before I start giving my thoughts on it. So let me say this. I do like this formula better than the original. The original was too thick for me. I wore it several times. I think this is a beautiful foundation, the original. I think it's a beautiful foundation, but for me, it was just a little bit too heavy and it stopped me from using it a lot. But this is well loved by many people. I think this is a better formula for those who have like normal, combo, and oily skin. I haven't worn this for a while, but I just remember not fully loving it. This one, on the other hand, this one is definitely radiant. And I also want to show you the difference between the bottle. You can see the differences between the two jars. So this one, which is the original, this is more of a frosted glass. And then this new one is got a shine to it. I actually really like this formula. There is one negative that I have found with this foundation that I don't like. And what that is, I have to wear a really good moisturizing primer underneath it, which sounds weird because it is a radiant finish and it does look radiant throughout the day. But some of the times that I was wearing it, by the end of the night, I would feel dry. Even though my skin looked radiant, my skin felt dry. When I wear the Magic Cream with it, I don't have that experience. So this morning I applied it with the Magic Cream and it worked great. I also wore it with this, which is the Tatcha Liquid Silk Canvas, and I did not like this combo. Like, these two did not work well together at all. And one of the days I wore it with the Gucci Silk Priming Serum. This worked okay together, like it applied okay together, but by the end of the night, oh my gosh, my skin felt like the Sahara Desert. It was so dry. It was driving me crazy. I've wore it with the Magic Cream twice, and both times I have felt like I get the best moisture and I feel like it blends into my skin the best. Like those other primers, I felt like it kind of sat on top of my skin, but when I wore a more moisturizing primer underneath it, I felt like it really absorbed into the skin and become that very skin-like finish. The other thing that I will say is that you cannot use very much of this. If you have used the original formula, you will know that this one, if you use too much, it will get thick and cakey quick. That is the exact same thing with this new one. Even though it has a radiant finish, if you get it too thick in areas, it will not look good. It'll sit on top of the skin. It is one of those foundations where a little bit goes a really long way. You get a nice medium coverage, but you cannot use too much of it. So I recommend using one pump and see if you can take it as far as you can. If you need to add maybe a half a pump, but if you feel like you've applied it and you've gotten it too thick in certain areas, I recommend having a clean, dampened sponge close by and just go over top of it and pick up any of the extra foundation that's sitting on the skin and you'll be fine. But if you get it too thick, it is not a pretty situation. My favorite way to apply this is with a brush. I feel like I get an even layer all over, like a thin, even layer, and then going over it with a sponge to kind of push it into the skin. But I think this is a really beautiful foundation. I prefer this to be set with a little bit of powder, not a lot of powder. So for example, I don't feel like I need to set all the way around like the perimeter of my face, but I feel like I do need to kind of set this area with some type of setting powder or finishing powder just to control the oils throughout the day and also kind of hold it together in those areas that might it will start, if I don't, it starts to kind of separate from the skin. So there was 2 days that I didn't wear any powder over it and I liked it, but I didn't think it lasted as long. It still looked really beautiful, but I think I only got maybe 8 hours out of it and then it was kind of pretty well done. But if I add just a little bit of powder in this area, the T-zone area, it lasts for 12 hours and it looks as good as it does now. This formula for me, being that I'm dry normal, this is exactly what I was needing out of this, but didn't quite get it out of this. But I feel like if you love this, you probably don't need this new Radiant. It just depends on if you really love a Radiant foundation. This will be a new addition to my foundation rotation. I have a lot of foundations that I love to kind of swap back and forth and use. This is definitely going to be one that I will include in that rotation because it is just a very beautiful skin like foundation if you apply it right. So this is a beautiful foundation and I'm really, really happy that I have it. I will be honest though, this foundation reminds me a lot of the Shade and Illuminate foundation from Tom Ford. I'm actually, one of the days I wanted to kind of swap these, like wear one on one side and one on the other. I kind of feel like this might be a dupe for this. So if you guys want me to do that video, I will. I won't do like a few day wear test. I will probably just wear it one day and compare side by side. But I do feel like this foundation might be a dupe for this because they apply the same, you get the same coverage, and you get the same radiance to the skin, but this is $150 and this is like $50. So see how I blend it out? They have the same shine, don't they? They both have the same type of finish. So I think that might be a fun video to film because the whole time I was wearing this new Shiseido foundation, I kept thinking, this reminds me of the Shade and Illuminate, like, and it's crazy. So I will definitely create something like that if you guys are interested, because I'm actually curious myself. So sound off down below in the comment section and let me know if you guys are interested in seeing that video. But for now, I'm going to leave the review here. I think this is a beautiful foundation. And I think if you're dry normal and maybe you tried the Synchro, the original, but it just didn't quite work for you, and you're looking for something a little bit more radiant, a little bit more skin-like, I think that radiant one is just absolutely beautiful. So sound out down below in the comment section. Have you guys bought this foundation and how are you guys feeling about it? Let us know in the comments down below what your skin type is and if you like it and if you don't. That is always very, very helpful. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me in today's video. I hope that you guys all have a wonderful day and I will see you all in my next video. Love you. Bye.